Hive is Kosovo's entry for Best International Feature Film at the 94th Academy Awards. I'm Denton Davidson, Senior Editor at Gold Derby, and today I am joined by Hive's director and writer, Blerta Basholli, and its lead actress, Yllka Gashi. I'll start with asking Blerta, how does it feel to be shortlisted by the Academy, which means the film is eligible to be nominated for the Oscar and represent Kosovo in this way? It's the first time Kosovo has been shortlisted.
Yeah, well, it feels great. Film has had a really interesting journey and lovely one since Sundance last year. So the whole 2021 was a really good journey for Hive and for us. We met a lot of people, and especially also campaigning for Oscars. It was really amazing to meet people. Of course, right now we can't meet people. We're doing this on Zoom and other conversations and talks and meetings on Zoom because of the pandemic. But for us, we come from a small country, and although we have a lot of stories and beautiful stories to tell, we do come from a small country. So us being shortlisted, the whole Kosovo is cheering for us. So really, it's been exciting, and the support we got from everybody and how everybody's feeling proud and excited about the film, and specifically because of the story it tells, it really feels it's really an honor and rewarding for all the work we did. But most of all, for us, it's really a satisfaction because of the story of the women of Krusha, and because their story got to be heard by so many people on this journey. So that's really exciting, and it's really an honor to be here where we are now with this film.
And Yllka, how has it been for you representing Kosovo with this film? And it premiered at Sundance last year, and it's been quite a ride for the last year. How has it been for you?
It's been amazing. Sundance changed everything. Not in our wildest dreams did we dare to dream that we would break a record and make history. And it's just, we're forever thankful to Sundance, first of all, for selecting Hive, and then for all the awards. And everywhere else Hive went, we got nice feedback, and it's rewarding. We come from a small country, and we don't get that much chances, first of all, to make films, second of all, to make these kind of stories, moving stories, true stories, to tell them on the big screen and to international audiences. So it's also, then it becomes a huge responsibility, not just to protect your work, as an artist, but also to kind of touch upon different subjects when it comes to your country, because this is a true story that takes place in Kosovo in the aftermath of war. And we had fun. We've been to Switzerland and then to Spain, and we had I'm talking about going in person to these places, and then we had the premiere in Pristina in October last year, and then we came in US, in New York and LA, and that was an adventure. So it's been really awesome, and I'm so grateful for this experience.
And Blerta, this is your feature directorial debut, and that's a heck of a way to start. You also wrote the film, which is about a woman named Fahrije, whose husband has been missing since the war in Kosovo, and she goes against misogynistic societal expectations to become an entrepreneur. She sells her own hot pepper preserves and honey, and she recruits other women to work with her in the process. And as mentioned earlier, this is a true story, but can you tell us how you became familiar with her story, and then explain how that knowledge ended up in your creation of this film?
Well, we heard the story, first of all, on TV, and it was interesting because at the beginning, I did a lot of short films that was dealing with serious issues, but having a satirical or a little bit of comic approach. And when I first heard about Fahrije's story, I was surprised. I was born and raised in Pristina, but I was as well a little bit surprised about how people reacted to her working. I was born and raised in a patriarchal society, and I know what are the expectations generally for women. But honestly, in that kind of case, I would just thought that everybody would just jump in and help her. And in her case, it wasn't always like that. And I was really surprised. But then at the beginning, I thought maybe this can be a little bit satirical and we can make a lighter film. But when I met Fahrije in person, maybe the strength and her attitude and the way she spoke about everything that she went through the war and after the war and how she dealt with everything. And she's an entrepreneur, but I think she was a lot of things, honestly. She was an activist because she organized a lot of protests and did a lot of things to discover where the missing people are. She gathered these women around herself, and when they were crying a lot, she was sort of their psychologist. She would play music to not let them cry the whole time. She managed to convince them slowly to join her in this business. So I think she was a lot of things to many people. Plus, she was very present in media, and that's how we got to hear her story, and that's how a lot of people got to hear her story and be inspired by her. So in that sense, for me, it was really amazing when I met her, and she just really left a big mark on me, always, forever, and I will forever be inspired by her. But when I met her in person, it is when I realized that this is not going to be a satirical film. This really has to be this realistic film, and I wanted to be a documentary, have a documentary approach, because she is so real. I mean, she was this impossible to believe. It was impossible to believe that she could do it all in those kind of circumstances. Having no education, she was not she didn't have a chance to go to university, and having a society prejudice, you have children to raise. I mean, that was even too much, even in real life, to believe for. So in that sense, I really just wanted to be true to what she went through, honor her legacy, the way Yllka always says, and just really be as realistic as possible to her story. It was a huge responsibility because she is alive and she has gone through a lot. So we didn't want to hurt her by making this film, and maybe she won't like it. But in a way, it was a really learning process, a lot of meetings, and a lot of really digging deep into our emotions as well, to be able to be honest and just portray her as real as possible.
And Yllka, this was your first leading role in a feature film, so that's also a heck of an introduction. How did you learn about this film and eventually get cast as the lead?
I got cast right away the moment Blerta shared the idea with me back in 2011. We went to meet Fahrije together for the first time, and ever since then, making Hive became a mission for us and became a dream for me to portray Fahrije. I knew Fahrije's story from before, because, as Blerta said, she was a lot on TV, and we saw a lot of TV stories about Krusha and the widows, and how they were organizing protests to ask the government to ask questions about their loved ones and their remains, or where they are, you know. And I also tried her Ivar before meeting her, and I loved it. So I kind of was her fan and her customer way before meeting her in person. And then when Blerta shared her idea with me, I was like, yes, yes, and yes, let's go meet her, and hopefully she will like us, and you can write the script, and I'm ready. I mean, I was ready from the beginning. And it took quite a long time to make the film, from 2011 to 2021 when it premiered in Sundance. But during those years, Blerta and I stayed in touch. Even though I moved to US, I became a mom. Blerta had 2 kids, and so many things happened. You know, life happened during those years while she was writing and rewriting and thinking about making Hive. And but I never gave up on this dream, you know, and she didn't either. We fed each other this idea of honoring Fahrije and telling her story to the world. So I lived with the desire to portray her. I lived with the dream of one day I'm going to be the one that will have this amazing chance to bring this remarkable woman on screen. And then it happened. I mean, we shot the movie in 2019, and the rest is history.
Was there more pressure when you're playing someone that's real? I mean, do you feel pressure to act like that person, or do you take the story and say, this is the story, but I'm gonna develop the character myself, or how do you balance that out?
Of course, the pressure is very big when you play a real person who is alive, because they might not like you or the way you portrayed them, and you have this huge responsibility to kind of like honor them and do them justice. You know, as Blerta said, we didn't want to hurt her. We wanted to honor her and to share her story because we were impressed by her and we were so inspired by her from the very first time we met Fahrije. And then as an actor, it helps you in the meaning that you see her. I saw her. I observed her. I saw how she talks. I observed like her attitude, the way she handles herself, and that helps you, you know, to kind of like try to pick up on those small traits that will help you build the character. But at the same time, we lived for so long with this dream and this idea of making this film that when we started to rehearse and to do the table reads and to talk and to dig deep into our own past and emotions and everything, trying to find the psychology of Fahrije and how she felt during the war and after her husband was gone missing. We worked closely. I mean, and I trusted Blerta, which is, I think, very important. And I trusted her instinct, and she also trusted my choices as an actor. And that's how it was done. But you always have doubts, you know, no matter how much you want it, no matter how much you think that because you relate to the character. I related to Fahrije. I understood her pain and her past and her desires. At the same time, there's always doubt. There's always like you're terrified a little bit if this is the right thing, if I am doing her justice, if this and that. But I had an amazing director, and then she made things easier.
Thank you.
And this was a story in some ways about a women's movement really in Kosovo. Blerta, there was extreme backlash she faced just for getting a driver's license and then starting her own business. Do you think it was her intention to start this movement, or is this really about something that happened naturally with a woman that just refused to sit back because she was just determined to provide for her family?
I don't know. I think it's a little bit of both, but I don't think it was there from the beginning, because I mean, that's why from the beginning of the film, we see Fahrije a little bit of a strong character. She climbs on that truck, and it's not someone that we see that weak from the beginning who's then becoming stronger, but she was this type of person from the beginning, because she never imagined herself as a housewife. And that's what she told me. I mean, she always wanted to work, and she always wanted to provide. And like, she did work even when her husband, I mean, she worked at home. She was, I don't know how it's called when you're knitting clothes in a machine. I forgot, tailor or something, tailor. But she tried to, like, even though she was working at home, she always tried to do different things. And for me, that was really impressive, because I was like, that's why this particular woman could do it all. Because she was that person, she was that leader. And then she just really, as you said, didn't want to sit back. She told me, like, we had kids to raise. We had assistances from international organizations, but those assistances were not going to last forever. And she's like, I'm not just sitting and crying, and then we go insane from being sad every day, and then we lose our children, and then it would have been too late for us to remember that we shouldn't have done it. So she was like, I had to work so that I provide for my kids. I had to work so that I keep myself busy, so I'm not always thinking about the pain. And then I had to do something to create, to like provide financially, and to move on for myself and for all the women of Krusha, because she was like, we were all going crazy getting together. Each time we would get together, she was like, what if one woman wouldn't start talking, the other one would. always somebody, she was like, would start talking about the war and about the missing people, and then all the women would start crying. And something she did was like play music and let's not just cry. And for me, that was always something really amazing. But I think through time, I think she realized that. And that's really smart of her, because besides being an entrepreneur, besides having a vision on how to develop the business, and she on March 8th opened a huge factory. Now she's employing about 100 women, and not only widows, she's employing also women who have husbands but need to work. So she really changed the mindset. She developed her business. She gave work to those women. They seem so happy when we go to visit them. And it's so nice to see that community. But then she was very present in the media, which is not something she particularly likes, but she understood the importance of being in the media and talking about the missing people, talking about what they've been through as women. And she decided not to listen to men. I mean, one thing that she did was she went to have a coffee at the coffee place in the village, and she gathered a couple of women with her. And in these smaller cafes in the villages, usually only men go. It's very unusual for women to go and have a coffee, and she did it. Plus she was a widow, which was even more even more not common for her to go, because you're a widow, you should be really just mourning for your husband and stay at home. But she did it. She was like, I just took my friends and went to have a coffee. Everybody was looking at us. They were all gossiping about us, but we wanted to have a coffee, and we did it. And I was like, at some point, I think she got it. And I'm just really proud to have her as my friend, because that's really someone who decided to stand up for herself, even by just drinking a coffee in the morning.
And Yllka, can you speak about what it was like working with all of the other actors? It's such an ensemble. There's so many people in the cast. I'm curious about what some of their backstories are, and what it was like to get everyone together, and not just the family, but the women that are portrayed. It was, I mean, such a great ensemble piece.
Yes, Blerta deserves the praise, because she did the casting as well, and she did an amazing job. And it was a joy. I mean, in Kosovo, we are a small community, you know, actors, and we know each other. I worked before with some of them, like with Chun and Kumi, Kumi who plays Naza, Chun who plays my father-in-law, Haji. I worked with Adriana who plays Lume, and then Aurita who plays Zamira, and a lot of other actors. So we had we knew each other from before, and we're good friends, which is always a plus, you know, especially in these kind of when you're working on these kind of stories that are intimate, but also are very fragile and sad in a way, heartbreaking. So we had a really good energy on set. It was amazing. I mean, I knew that for me it was very important. It always is, not just to make a good, you know, a good character, a good role, and to shine or whatever, but it's very important to enjoy the process, you know, to make friends, to learn something new from that experience. And I think I was lucky, because Blerta did a great job with the casting, and everybody put their hearts into this project, you know, and everybody deserves credit for the great job that they're done, and also for the simply just being amazing, honest, in front and in front of camera and behind the camera. And we had a blast. We did cry a lot, like there were some very emotional scenes, and brought back memories, and we shared our stories, like kids from Kosovo in the 90s and the war and everything that we have been through. But we also laughed. We did laugh so much, and we had fun. It was really a beautiful experience.
And Blerta, can you talk about the locations you were able to shoot in to bring such a realistic tone to the film? The villages, the homes, everything felt and looked so natural. What was the shooting process like?
Well, we searched a lot of villages in Kosovo, and I wanted to shoot in Kruša Mlade, but Kruša Mlade is a village that, besides that they lost a lot of people, it has been burned. So all of the houses were burned, and people had to rebuild them after the war. So it kind of looks new, and it doesn't look anything like right after the war village. So we were really looking for a village that looks more war torn and looks more close to the villages that did look at 2005 and 2006. So we were actually scouting throughout the whole Kosovo, and Janjeva is a village that it's a really beautiful village, and it's not very flat, and then you can have background, but the houses are, a lot of people abandoned, unfortunately, that village, but the houses do look like they've been burnt or destroyed, and it looks older, and it looks more true and more authentic, the way Kruša Mlade used to look like. So that's why we decided to shoot there. I was a little bit skeptical because it's also a little bit hard to shoot there because of the roads are so small and everything. But of course, the production company and our producer Yllka were like, if that's the village you really like, we'll make everything to like shoot it. So we loved the village. The house was in the village, and luckily the woman who owned the house was really good to work with. And the production designers and everybody, all I really asked from everybody was like, let's really just be honest and true to how real houses look like in these villages, and let's not try to create something that it's not believable and authentic, and how it should really look like. So we really paid a lot of attention to detail, and it was amazing to work with the production designers as well, because as Yllka said, everybody really put their heart in it and put a lot of effort and passion in this story that we really appreciated, because everybody really tried to do their best. And I always appreciate that about crew members, because we really work closely with the DP, the production designer, the prop manager, and everybody to just really make everything believable and the way it really was for this women. But it was also about cooperating with Fahrije, because she would provide us with pictures of how these women looked like, for example, costume wise, and how the locations looked like when they went to identify people, how her house looked like, how places where she started to work looked like. And also she even provided us with pictures of missing people, which the pictures on the film are pictures of real missing people. So in that sense, a lot of things were really the way they were in real life, and we just really tried to be true to that and be honest, and yeah.
How did Fahrije feel about the finished product? Was she excited? Is she embarrassed to be in the spotlight? What's her reaction?
Oh no, she's really practical. Well, for me, it was really stressful to show her the film. We called her a couple of times to watch the film in the production company where I'm here at Icon, and she didn't have time because she's a busy woman. So at some point we had to go there and just show her the film and laptop. We had all the rights to the story and everything, but really I wanted her to accept the film before we screen it anywhere. And I don't know what would have we done if she had said, no, this film cannot go anywhere. I don't want to be identified with this film. And we went to her office. She smokes a lot. Obviously, you've seen it in the film, and she was smoking while watching. It was her office, so she was like, I'm smoking inside. So she's smoking. She was smoking while watching the film, told people, don't open the door, I'm watching the film. And so she wasn't even moving for 83 minutes. Her face didn't show anything. Yllka calls her poker face. I couldn't even tell that she loves it or she hates it. She's gonna tell me to remove something. We were picture locked by then. So it was for me 83 minutes of really thinking a lot of things. And then at the end, she was like, I think you guys did a good job. I think a lot of scenes look exactly the way they were. It really brings back a lot of memories while I'm watching it. And Yllka Gashi did a really good job. I mean, she was from the beginning really amazed that Yllka is going to portray her. And then, but there's one thing that I think you should have done differently. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's gonna ask me to remove something. Like, she was like, you should have let me hit the guy with a wrench. And I was like, I was like, oh my god, that was such a relief. And I'm really, really, really happy that she liked the film, and she was happy when we told her about Sundance, that the story of her, the way she said, this is my story and the story of women of Krusha, but a lot of women have been through the same things in Kosovo. So I'm really happy that our story will be heard, not just in Kosovo, but in US, because of course, US is so far away. And for us, it's like always been a country to dream of. So she was like, that our story is going to be heard in America and in all the world, so that people can know about what happened to us. So it's really, really great that she loves the film, and she's been with us in festivals and Q&As, and yeah, we're still friends. That's good.
Well, it's certainly made its way around the world, and I want to thank you both, Blerta and Yllka, for speaking with Gold Derby today about your film Hive, an incredibly inspirational film from Kosovo. And best of luck to both of you this award season. To our viewers watching, head over to goldderby.com, make your awards predictions, and check out more interviews with top contenders like these two here. And thank you both once again.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
us.